Our work began with a call from God, but not the kind of call you might imagine. There was no white light, no crack of thunder, no irrefutable command. For us, the call came as a quiet offer, a gentle tugging of the heart. Ours is a story of what can happen when God is followed without knowing the why, the how, or the when. It's a story of what can happen with a single step in the direction of faith. For us, that step led to Rwanda. Handspun Hope is an ecumenical ministry working in northern Rwanda. We currently have a full-time staff of 3 in the United States and employ over 150 people in Rwanda. The majority of our Rwandan staff are at-risk women who were once considered marginalized. Many of them lost their husbands, parents, and other family members during the Rwandan genocide against the Tutsi, which occurred in 1994. Most of our ladies are living with HIV. All of them were living in extreme poverty, were considered the poorest of the poor within their communities prior to being hired by Handspun Hope. The ladies are employed at our facility in the village of Musanze, where they process merino and Angora wool. We have a sheep farm nearby where shepherds and farm staff care for our own flock of sheep. When the sheep are sheared, the fleeces are brought to our cooperative where the women clean and card the wool, spin it into yarn, and dye it organically using local Rwandan plants. Avocado pits, onion skin, and eucalyptus bark are a few examples of the organic material used to dye our yarn. Once dyed, the ladies then knit beautiful finished goods, including hats, gloves, scarves, and sweaters. In addition to raising sheep, we have also introduced German Angora rabbits to the women and to Rwanda, providing an additional source of raw material for making yarn. In 2018, the ministry began importing Ethiopian cotton from a women's cooperative in Ethiopia. The cotton yarn is organically dyed by the women working for Handspun Hope in Rwanda. Like the Angora wool, this has created another revenue source. Handspun Hope is a ministry answering the call that God laid out in James 1:27. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress. We believe the poverty cycle can only be broken after a family is stabilized, through relationship with Jesus Christ, through gainful employment, access to regular, healthy meals, and through the education of children. Handspun Hope provides fair wages, a safe working environment, and health care for every woman employed. We contribute toward the educational fees of every child in the care of our employees, many of whom are caring not only for their own children, but for the children of a deceased family member. One of the women currently cares for 9 children. 1 year of education costs approximately $80 in Rwanda. This includes tuition, books and supplies, and uniform fees. $80 is a tremendous amount of money for one family. If you have 3 or 5 or 9 children in your care, there is simply no way you can afford to educate them all. Handspun Hope eases this burden by contributing toward education-related fees. As of January 2020, we have 181 students enrolled in school. Handspun Hope also provides on-site trauma counseling for the ladies. We employ 2 full-time Rwandese-trained counselors who offer group and individual trauma counseling for the women. Every woman we employ experienced some level of trauma during the 1994 genocide. Many of the women who are HIV positive contracted the disease during the war as the result of an intentional rape campaign. Groups of men would attack women, infect them, then tell them, "We are going to let you live so you may die of sadness." Their goal was to ensure the killing would continue long after the war ended. Our counseling program has been transformative for the women we employ, so much so that 7 years ago, we decided to expand the reach of the counseling by creating a lay counselor training program. This course is provided free of charge to anyone who wants to join. Our counselors provide trauma counsel training to community leaders, doctors, pastors, teachers, and teach them how to counsel their own community. To date, we have graduated over 200 lay counselors from our program who now have the tools to help their own communities begin the healing process. So what are our greatest needs? Without question, we need to continue expanding our counseling program. People sometimes ask, why is counseling still so critical when the genocide occurred more than a quarter century ago? When our ministry began in 2007, every woman we employed had personally experienced some level of trauma. But we are entering our 13th year of working on the ground in Rwanda. Many of our new hires were born after the genocide occurred, but they have been raised by trauma survivors who were unable to process what they experienced. Many have suffered rejection along with emotional and/or physical abuse because of it. We also have employees who are still dealing with genocidal fallout so many years after the atrocities occurred. Just last year, Edith learned the location of her family's murders 25 years after their deaths. A prisoner confessed to the murder of Edith's parents and 7 of her 8 siblings and told authorities where the murders had taken place. Our counselors were able to help Edith process this information and were able to travel with her to the location of her family's death, to revisit the devastation of their loss, and to continue the healing 25 years later. There is no question that counseling is still desperately needed. But we don't want to limit the healing to the space inside our walls. God's love is too big for that. We want to continue expanding our lay counseling training program. With additional counselors and additional space, we will be able to graduate additional lay counselors who can then continue the healing in their own communities. With your help, we hope to increase the number of lay counselor training programs offered in 2020. Our goal is to hire 3 additional counselors and graduate 25 lay counselors this year. We would like to expand our counseling facility, adding a 2nd story to our counseling building and providing additional private space for individual counseling sessions. We want to be able to provide eye exams to each woman and eyeglasses for those who need them. We want to provide salaries for the 78 women who are currently unsponsored. When salaries are covered by sponsors, it frees up funds to be used for other daily expenses. God is working on the hearts and futures of these women in Rwanda and their children. By God's grace and mercy, we are blessed to serve the people of this beautiful country. God made that gentle call 13 years ago, and, as is so often the case, taking that first step of faith set us on a journey of breathtaking transformation. What began with the employment of 10 women has become the largest employer of women in the Musanze district of Rwanda. We are changing lives beyond our own facility through the lay counselor program. We are partnering with other local schools and cooperatives to provide employment for young deaf women. It keeps getting bigger, and with your help, that growth will continue. We have been called to Rwanda, and we pray you will join us as we work to fulfill the promise God made in James 1:27, to care for the widow and the orphan. We are excited to share with you what can happen with a single step in holy direction, to witness the beauty as God offers hope to the hopeless and transforms God's beloved from the inside out.